Guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a review for the Mobula 7 HD. So this is their follow-up to the popular Mobula 7 series, and now they have put in a RCAddict Turtle version 2, which is the sort of split type camera that you have your normal analog feed transmitted, but as well as it records in 1080p 60 on board. So if you can take a look at the quad right away, you see this guy does run on 3S, and it is if you hold it in your hand, it's a very beefy quad. So let's just go ahead and weigh it straight off the bat. We can do it first without the battery, 48 grams, and then with the battery, 73 grams, and it is a 3S 300 milliamp hour battery here. So 73 grams, definitely not the lightest. Coming with the quad in the nice little box, actually really nice because of how small it is, and with the foam you can carry it in here. You don't have to take the props off, you can just put it right in. That is awesome. We do get a little prop removal tool, a screwdriver, an extra set of props, some screws, as well as this little adapter to change it from XT30 to 2 PH2 plugs, which is good if you have, because you only get one of these batteries. Obviously you can order more, but if you have other smaller batteries and you want to run this on 2S, that is a nice option. You do get this manual with it, which is actually really nice. These Happy models do come in with these manuals. They go over, for example, Tyrannus setup, all the wiring of everything if you need to replace anything, the VTX settings, all the Betaflight and BL Heli, and the OSD, as well as the PIDs and settings for it in Betaflight. It's really actually quite a nice little manual, and for a beginner it would definitely help quite a bit. So the quad itself uses 1102 9000 kV motors, and now keep in mind this is a pretty old version. I have had this for a long time. This video has been quite delayed. I've just been really busy. I actually think these are the 10,000 kV. I think they're mislabeled. And 10,000 kV little tiny prop on 3S is very, very high RPM, and a lot of people were burning these out. And when I actually did go to fly this, I was really, it was crazy how much power this thing had. It just, you could hear it from the sound. This thing just absolutely shredded. But it is, a lot of people were burning their boards out, so they've gone down to the 9000 kV version. As well as on the Banggood site, they do recommend running a 75% throttle cap, because so many of these tiny little boards were burning out, which, you know, makes sense. Since this video is pretty old and a lot of people already covered this, I'm not going to go too much in the specs. We're just going to go right into the flight footage here. So yeah, pretty much not any worth to the in-flight audio, although if you want to talk to the camera, example, say what flight this is, what you're testing when you're flying it, it will record that beforehand. But overall, the mic is pretty much like anything on board. It's not very useful. The Turtle settings that actually came weren't that good. You can see here this little green and black cable. They do have the little adapter wired up here, so you can plug in. It comes in the box to change these settings on the Turtle. Basically, I just turned the saturation and the sharpness down a little bit to get where it is right now. I think it made it look a lot better. Overall, the footage from it is definitely pretty good. I would say doing sort of normal flying is actually going to be looking a little bit better than if you try to do really slow cinematic style flying, because something this small, although I have crashed it a few times, but it's in pretty good shape. Like, the props are fine. I haven't really messed up the motors, but there just definitely is some jello in the footage. Spinning little props this fast on a very flimsy plastic frame definitely is going to bring some vibrations into the video. In terms of the control range on FreeSky, it was pretty darn terrible, but I mean, what can you expect when this is the antenna here, just a regular piece of wire, not anything tuned at all, and it comes directly out of the board. So when you put the battery in there, get this in, it's a very nice tight fit though. They did well on that. It's half the antenna is covered, and that's the only place it can go. So if you're going to be flying this on FreeSky, any of the inbuilt systems they offer, I would definitely be careful of your range and plan out your flights beforehand. Don't go flying this in some sketchy spots where if you fail safe, you can't get it back. Video was perfectly fine. The antenna is here. You know, it wasn't great, but 25 milliwatts on these little guys is pretty much what you'd come to expect. Definitely enough to do some general flying, but not going to be like punching through a bando or anything. So that pretty much brings us to what is this quad useful for. I don't know if I would recommend it for just an everyday flyer. However, if you are looking to fly some things, for example, where a 5-inch is not necessarily applicable, maybe if you're flying around buildings or you're doing something smaller. I know a lot of people have recently been doing like flying through stores, like shoe stores and stuff. This might be something you want to check out. However, because the camera quality is not quite as good, it's definitely not up to a GoPro level, as well as there is vibrations from these tiny props. If you're doing something professional like that, you probably aren't using anything like this. But for the average user, I'd say the footage that it produces is more than adequate. Flight experience is pretty good. As I mentioned, it has a ton of power, but you do have to be careful because it can burn the board out. So you probably do want to limit your throttle to 75%. But overall, it does carry the weight well. I was a little bit skeptical about running it on 3S just because that's a lot of power, a lot of voltage for these tiny little guys. But it balanced out pretty well, and while it did definitely have a lot of prop wash, and it did carry weight really awkwardly, especially if you're trying to do like split S's, once you get used to it, it's not too bad, and you can kind of work around it. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for the video. I'd say if you're looking for a toothpick, something like this, just to fly around and go crazy and have fun, I wouldn't get it. But if you're looking specifically for the HD video for some purposes, I think it is a pretty good option. There are some newer ones available, but for this overall form factor, it is one of the smallest HD camera carrying quads. And I think it does a pretty decent job at it, and I'm going to keep using it to hopefully get some pretty cool footage coming soon. So yeah, that's going to do it for the video. There'll be a link down in the description below if you're interested. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.